Oh my God, I put him to sleep.
Oh, we got a gag going.
He's just so boring.
What a time to be alive.
Take my hand, off to Never Land.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the final edition of the 2025 season, Late Night with the Borg. As always, Jackrabbit Illustrated is proud to be brought to you by our title sponsor, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. With 9 locations across the great state of South Dakota, there's always a Kubota dealer near you to get into some more equipment. Get yourself into some reliable and very useful equipment from Kubota today. They have everything you may need for your ranch, your home, your acreage, your farmstead, anything in between. They've got their tractors, larger tractors, subcompact tractors. They've got the skid steers, all that jazz. Get yourself into some more equipment today. And as always, I am joined with Mr. Zach Borg, who I got to watch the game with today. That was a lot of fun. It was fun having you over.
Made it through a blizzard.
Yeah, through a blizzard. He made it out to my place out in the sticks. So I appreciate you coming out, man. That was fun. Damian says the Bison losing eases the pain. We have someone who will talk on that in a little bit. But thank you to each and every one of you degenerates who are joining us tonight. What a season, I think, overall. And we're going to get into all this more and deeper later. But, boy, what a season. Ups, downs, ups. And then the end of the year, I mean, the start of players and who's going to be the coach and everything else. What a roller coaster ride of a season. I think this team of 2025 is going to be remembered forever. Even with, falling short of where other teams have come, I think they're going to be a team that's remembered forever. Thank you to the guys like Kobe Claiborne and Julius Lawford who came out and all the seniors in this class who put their heart and soul into this season. But realistically, you look at this game, they just couldn't stop the Grizz. Couldn't stop them. Just could not stop them. You give up a 50 burger. For any SDSU defense, that's a little bit embarrassing to give up 50 points. You give up 191 yards rushing, another 300 and some passing. The Grizz defense was good enough to hold up on occasion and force the Jacks offense to punt the ball away. And just couldn't get the ball back enough times. And the Jacks end up falling, as I'm sure everyone knows. But future's bright going forwards. Just tough way to end the season. The Jacks stay defeated at Wagriz Stadium. The Grizz are a good team. You beat Indiana State. You probably don't have this game. You don't have this game. Who knows what happens? You might be going on. You might be doing it later. This might be a matchup later in the season, and who knows? But hats off to the Grizz. They were definitely the better team today. Just the reality, like Damian says, couldn't get the run game established. The time of possession game and run game just didn't come through today. Just didn't have it going on. We still have one game going on. We've got Rhode Island at Davis happening. It's on commercial right now. I don't remember what the score was last. I saw it was 35-20. Davis had just taken advantage of
who had that team
by Rhode Island.
Who had the winner of that one getting to host the quarterfinal next round?
Right. We had some results today. We had, of course, the biggest news is NDSU goes down at home to Illinois State. That's a big one. So Borg, I'll let you talk for a little bit, and then we'll bring in our special guest who wants to have a little bit of a rant. He's got feelings that he's got to get off his chest. So he's jumping on with us tonight.
Well, I do got to admit to Steve Anderson. Well, yeah, that Davis game, by the way, started at 9, so it's very late local, very long game. And Steve, we had our great intro that Brendan, did you put that together, by the way? Was that all you, or did somebody else?
No, I didn't put any of it together. That was Ben. Ben,
Okay, there we go.
one of the co-hosts on the B team of Scare Money Don't Make Money. Ben put that together.
Well done. Well
He
done,
surprised
Ben.
me a while ago.
Well done, Ben. And I was actually sleeping before we came back on, so hopefully I got my rest. After took a doze. I think I took a doze right when Dakota News Now came on after. I guess, but I mean, part of me doesn't want to necessarily dwell. You have to kind of look at this season with a little bit of a grain of salt because of so much that had happened. I mean, just they've been through so much. This program's been through so much in the last year. Ironically, 24 hours ago, you have another Jimmy Rogers coaching change, which kind of brings home just how silly this has all been for the last year. And I mean, it's been so wild. I think that there are a lot of people who I remember when this got brought up online, the fact that a lot of people who the Nate White situation happened nationally, which is wild because this program never made an excuse about it. This program's never use that as something that could have. That could have torpedoed a lot of different teams in country to have a guy die weeks before you start a season is just. It's just such a long. I'm kind of wondering what this program will be like here for the next couple of days. I think some of the guys who. I'm guessing some of what's happened over the last year will really sink in a little more now that they're kind of out of the grind for a little while. Obviously, they'll start working toward a next year here pretty soon, and you hope most of this team stays intact. We'll see how that all settles with the portal and all those things, but they had to fight through a lot this year, a lot that most teams should not ever have to. Team should ever have to in regards to White things. So, I think for this game in general, the problems that were there for this team the whole year, regardless of whether Chase was healthy, came up. The secondary was a problem for this team this year. That's why we want to talk about where they got hit hardest, probably when Jimmy Rogers left. They lost a lot of great secondary pieces. Some different guys had to come in and step in, and as another guy said online to me, this is the secondary that was getting roasted by Indiana State. I mean, they had those moments this year where they couldn't stop Murray State at times. So it was a very young secondary, and it showed at times. I think there were special teams errors, even though Max they had a rough day with him. I mean, it just, and I think. The defensive line, I know I listened a little bit to Dan Jackson's postgame. Both he's had a little bit of the press conference as well. He was pretty emotional, you can tell, especially about what Chase has meant to the program. And I listened a little bit on the radio as well with Tyler Merriam, back from their place, ironically. And he mentioned too that the defensive line was able to get some pressure early, but I think you saw later in the game. They weren't. I think that's a product of them just needing a little more depth, and they lost some of that depth. Quite
Borg, you're breaking up pretty hard. I think you're fighting your internet a little bit here. At least on my end of things. Someone can comment in the comments if I'm crazy and I'm just talking over Borg. And it's my end. But
maybe I'll just go to my iPhone here if it starts to really get bad, because I don't know why my internet would be. My computer might be a little low on juice. So I'd figure it's our last show of the year. Yeah, my A1 needs reloading. Borg is a boy.
Sound a little robot-y.
Well, figures last show of the year and the computer's not cooperating. I'll maybe fix this in a minute or two. But I think just I think the defensive line. It did get some pressure early, but one of the problems we saw with this team which was not a problem for years, especially making those national title runs, was to have that depth where they could kind of throw guys out in waves. So you saw guys like Logan Green and Kobe Claiborne have to play deeper into games. It wasn't, I think Quite the greatest. I'm gonna go switch to my. I'll switch to myself, and then give me a few minutes. I'll be online.
All right. Sounds good. While you do that, we're going to go ahead and bring out our guest because the big game, the biggest surprise of the day was NDSU loses to Illinois State. All sorts of stats and figures that would drive a Bison fan nuts. So we're going to bring on our friend, the Taco King, Mr. Brian Thompson. What's shaking, buddy?
NDSU who? Who's NDSU?
Right. He's got the logo crossed out and everything.
Last I looked, Fargo's burning right now.
It's in flames.
It's in flames. Yeah, you look at that NDSU game and you just go, wow. I mean, what is that, the third time or fourth time in modern FCS playoffs? The one seed's lost right away?
Yeah.
On it?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the game overall, NDSU didn't even hold the ball for 18 minutes in the game. I mean, that is so on NDSU. The Cole Payton had 4 completions all game. The Illinois State quarterback did better than NDSU players. I mean, what do you do there? And then the defense gives up 29 points, who's been solid all year, has 5 picks, but you still lose the game. It wasn't NDSU's day. And, you know, at the end of the day, good for Illinois State. They deserved it. They played better, period.
Well, and I think the Montanas are looking at this like the bad man is gone. Like Omar S12 says, bad day to be a DSU. The bad man's gone now from the playoffs. If you're a Montana team, this is your year.
Yeah, if you're any team, this is your year. The XDSUs are see you later.
Yep.
It's a year for somebody else to win it. You go back in the last since 2000, there's only 2 teams left in the bracket that have won a national championship. So it could be a team's first, or it could be a repeat for a couple teams in there since 2000.
Yeah, exactly. Tarleton State. Yeah, Zach McKiddle says Tarleton State is thinking the same thing. They handled UND today. They did. They handled UND pretty well today. On the NDSU game, for having 5 picks, like Rittenhouse did, hats off to the kid to knuckle down, bring him back, hit that 2-point play and everything the way he did. Really guts from that kid when it would be easy to pack it in.
It would have been easy for them to pack it in after the first play of the game. First play of the game's an 80-yard touchdown to Bryce Lance. I mean, you got to think for your Illinois State, right? They're on the sideline going, oh, God, here we go. And they never packed it in at all. But here's my point that I've been preaching all year. Illinois State had a strength of schedule of 11. NDSU was 24. Go figure who won.
Your SOS, baby. Your
strength of schedule matters. And Illinois State was a more tested team. No. But for an overall season for NDSU, I mean, 12-0 regular season is pretty dang tough to do. And especially in the Missouri Valley. And to win the outright crown, not share it with anybody for the first time in years, I think, in the Valley, that it was that way. I mean, the seniors, you know, they're a hell of a class. They got some titles, obviously, in their time at NDSU, but you know, where you're losing Peyton. I mean, obviously Bryce Lance is gone, Kopp is gone. But NDSU, I still think, has a pretty bright future. You return the whole offensive line next year. You're not losing anybody. And in this game, they didn't look great, but they have a lot of experience. They're going to be a year older. NDSU is going to be just fine, but just like South Dakota State, in my opinion, will. But this year's time for a new champion.
Yeah, and that's exciting. I'll tell you, you know how you know it's a rivalry? This loss hurts a lot less that NDSU's gone, and I'm not going to have to see him win a national title. I'll be just fully upfront and honest. This is, feels so much better that I'm not going to Nashville to watch a title, and I'm not going to have to worry about NDSU being there, and I can just enjoy myself.
Well, but it's USD, though. For you,
they got to prove that they
got a long. I mean, if they make it through the Montanas, they've certainly earned it. I'll say that.
Yeah. This is the first year we're going to be there with either of us not cheering for our team, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. I mean,
you can enjoy Nashville without any stress or worry. I mean,
we can both get thumper drunk at the game.
Oh God, we don't need to do that. I was drunk enough during this game. I don't need to do that here.
I don't think you were Frisco. You wouldn't be here if you were.
No. I think I don't think we're gonna get that wild. I only do that so many times. I only got so many times of getting that wild left in my life, and I gotta save those bullets in the chamber for what it's worth.
But
Yeah, that was a rowdy time. That was a real rowdy time. It was fun though. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Borg, you're back. Quick, since you're back here, Mr. Borg, I'm gonna read off our sponsor, Dreamers Do Travels with Amy Dix. Dreamers Do Travels. If you're looking to get yourself a trip scheduled anywhere in the country, or you want to go out of the country, you want to go on a Disney cruise, you want to go on a Disney trip, you want all-inclusive resort, anything else, go to Disney or dreamersdotravels.com, look up Amy Dix. She will get you hooked up, get you the best deals, take all the stress out of planning, and get you on your way to your dream vacation. So talk to Amy Dix at Dreamer Do Travels, and she will get you hooked up right on any vacation that's your dream vacation, from all-inclusives to cruises to trips abroad to trips locally. Talk to Amy Dix at Dreamers Do Travels. So anyways, Borg, you were in the middle of your thoughts before you lost your data.
Nice. Yeah, the shame of it is I was looking forward to a SDSU USD game because I got this new iPhone that my old one finally died because the battery was just a piece of crap, and I finally got this new iPhone with new video camera, new phone. I'm like, this would be great to take down to the Dakota Dome next week and maybe bootleg some video with and stuff like that. And it ain't gonna happen apparently. So I won't be. I don't think I'll be going to Missoula next week. Once again, a little bit beyond the budget, or not quite full time yet. But no, I just think, like I said, the things that plagued SDSU during this season were, they were there again this year, and they just, in a lot of cases, they just don't have the depth, or maybe I don't want to say the talent, but it's just not there yet. I mean, I think the defensive line thing, I thought they played fine, but you can tell they missed having that. They missed having the waves they could bring in and keep guys like Claiborne and Green fresh. I think that's where they used to be so dangerous the years they won the national title. It's like, guys like Winkleman, you think back to guys like Winkleman and Sanders, they had, the tank was full in the fourth quarter in a game like that. And guys like Claiborne and Green, they had to play almost every game. They had to play virtually every snap, every game this year. I do think Jay Syfor came on pretty nicely, but beyond that, it was kind of a, and obviously you lose Kirschenman early in the year. That would have been a big difference as well. But, they're gonna just have to rebuild some depth. Hopefully they've done that with their recruiting classes. But, the same things that kind of hurt this team during the season, other than the Chase Mason injury, because obviously I don't think you can really fault. There's a really good clip, I think, of Dan Jackson that I retweeted of him kind of breaking down the analysis, and I think you heard the take it for what it's worth. Obviously, the play-by-play guys who do the ESPN Plus games aren't always on the money, but I think you saw a little bit of why people think Chase can be an NFL draft pick next year. He made some great plays, and and bear in mind too, even though we saw him run more this week, he didn't have to run last week when they were just pistol whipping New Hampshire. Bear in mind, this is not 100% Chase Mason. I think he's still being hampered by whatever the foot injury is. Obviously, they never fully disclosed it. We all kind of have some speculations on what it is, but this wasn't the Chase Mason who could actually really be a threat running the football. So but I think he kind of did prove what kind of a thrower he is this year. Coming off this injury. That was maybe the one knock on him as well. He's a good runner, but is he really that good of a passer? Similar to the Cole Payton saga this year. It's like, hey, turns out these guys can pass when you actually stop making up these bullcrap packages where they're just runners. Let them take the controls and they'll be fine. Obviously, of course, I say that with Brian here today. Today being the exception. Obviously, I don't think he threw. After that 78-yard pass, it was kind of the Cam Miller semifinal against Incarnate Word. After that, right. But like I said, I think it's just tough with South Dakota State because this is not the standard, obviously, of losing in the second round. They've gone past this years ago, but with everything that happened with this team, with a new coach, I just don't. I don't know how critical you can get of a team that was in this position because they just, from what they've been through the last 12 months, to expect them to go out and win a national title again, it would, like they kind of played above themselves, I think a little bit for 7. And then, this year, like I said, the injury bug kind of bit them a little harder than it has in the past. I mean, let's face it, they had really good luck there from 2022 through 2024. They didn't really have a bunch of significant injuries that really piled up. They didn't have Mark Gronowski doesn't get hurt on the first play of a game and miss the season like he did in the championship. And they didn't have the depth this year to survive a lot of those injuries. So I think for them just getting back to the playoffs, winning a game for all they went through, it is a good foundation to build on. Now, if they are at this point again in a year, there might be some long knives that come out. We'll see.
Right.
But for where it was this year, I think this was a pretty good season. And just to get back to the playoffs when it seemed pretty dark, especially after that. Ironically, after their Illinois State game, it seemed just about over. It's a pretty good end to what looked like was going to be a season that was going to be over by now. Would have been long over by now when it was 35-0 during that Illinois State game. So
right.
There's still a lot to unpack, and we'll see. It'll just be interesting to see kind of how things develop from here on out.
Speaking of Illinois State, when was the last time they beat both XDSUs in the same year?
And they won 3 games on the road in the Dakotas. Also the USD game too. I mean, that's incredible.
1,800.
Yeah. I won't be picking them to win the next game, but they've had a hell of a season.
And they were prepared. They were prepared for this too. I saw that they got back into their basketball game and they got a standing ovation, and they had guy had like a bison chain on. I'm like, they are living this thing up as well they should. But like, they had the bison graphic, which I've never actually seen a team put on their social media before. I'm like, yeah, they came ready for this thing, and they're living it to the max. Like, I not to say I don't think they don't have a winnable game next week, but man, it's gonna be tough to come down from this high.
Yeah, they're going out to Davis. It looks like.
Yeah.
Brandon?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is 40-20 right now. And Rhodey just went for it on 4th and 6 and threw an incompletion, so Davis is taking over it deep in their own territory, but it's pretty close to getting to say that's pretty safe. That one's getting wrapped up. Do you got anything else, Brian, that you want to?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, you guys, I mean, it's a great day for Brookings in the aspect that Fargo lost. Makes it a little easier for you guys on it. But you don't deserve to win a game after the first play, 78 yards, and the rest of the game you have 101 yards.
It was 14-0 after a punt return too.
Yeah. 5 turnovers. Your team gets 5 turnovers, a special teams touchdown, and you can't win a football game. That's tough. And the one, it was a pick 6, like Borg said, and then another pick. They got it to like the 3-yard line. So there's a gimme touchdown, but all the other 3, not a single point. So at the end of the day, Illinois State deserved to win the game. And I would, if I'm gonna have to pick a team now, I'm probably picking the Grizz right now.
Yeah.
Well, they looked real good. We'll see. But we'll let you go, Brian. Thanks for jumping on with us.
Yeah, you boys have fun, and I'll see you in Nashville. Borg, you gonna be in Nashville?
Probably not. Maybe if I usually have to go with a company if that happens. Maybe if it's USD, maybe. But probably not. Unfortunately, one of these days.
All right.
I wish I could.
All right. See you boys later.
See you, man.
Take it easy, buddy. Ron, you're talking a lot of shit.
That was fun. That was the one that we needed. Was a few more guests this year, like our bracketology show, if you will.
Yeah.
It was fun when we get the live guests going, and I got to admit, Brian took it pretty well.
Oof, yeah, Zach.
I think you're on mute. Brendan.
No. Anybody else hear me? I don't know. Zach McKill's had a tough. No, you should be able to hear me. My mic says it's reading. But yeah, Zach McKinnell, you had a tough run here. Yeah, they hear me. So, McKinnell's had a tough run in the playoffs here with some of his favorite teams. It's going to be interesting going into next week because my normal MO is the team that played really well and wins by a bunch of points ends up losing the next week to a team that didn't play that well and give up the points. Well, USD and Montana both hammered their opponents. Yeah, Zach well and give up the points. Well, so who do you go with? Montana so, yep, I can hear me now through your speakers. But yeah. So, anyways,
you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. So. Tarleton is saving McKinnell's ass right now. On this game, the rushing wasn't good enough. Felt like they kind of gave up on the run game. Passing too much, just making yourself obvious that you're going to pass, and the Grizz took advantage of it. They just did. Got forced out of playing their game. Felt like you ended up playing the game that Montana wanted you to play the whole game. And that's what happens when good teams get to dictate things. That's the way that goes. So, that's a bummer. It was a tough one overall. For those asking who's SDSU's quarterback next year, as of right now, Chase Mason, unless he gets stolen away, he's got another year. So got bad news for you. Anybody hoping for SDSU to be losing him. He has been pretty public in saying that he's going to be here next year. So we'll see we'll see if that stays true or not, just because you never know in this crazy wild world of collegiate football what happens. But as of right now, Chase Mason will be the quarterback next year. But the rest of the bracket here, we got Montana State fans talking a lot of trash for a team that just squeaked by an Ivy League team. The Yotes went down and absolutely murdered Mercer. I saw someone call it a Mercer killing, and I think it was Kurt Likas, and that was pretty terrific. That game wasn't close from the start. You could see from the jump that the Mercer defense was not prepared to face that sort of a running attack and the physicality. That was wild. I didn't expect it to be that bad. I said I wouldn't be surprised if either team won, but I'm a little surprised that it was that bad of a bludgeoning. Holy smokes. Tarleton State took care of business against UND. UND's offense was what their offense was, so Tarleton State took advantage of that. Tarleton State's still a pretty good team. Man, that side of the bracket just got so interesting. It went from this is the easy side of the bracket for NDSU to, wow, who's going to come out of that side of the bracket? I still think on the SDSU Montana's side of bracket that you're looking at having your the Montanas come out of that side, one Montana or Montana State. The other side's really interesting. Montana State gets by with a 1-score win against Yale, 21-13. So a lot of smack coming for a team that squeaked by at home against the team that went across the country. I just like rubbing that in there. And then Stephen F. Austin, one of the Jacks won today. They win 41-34. Shout out to Stephen F. Austin for making it happen. So that was awesome. And then Prairie View and A&M takes down Jackson State for the SWAC championship. Good for them. Villanova beats Lehigh in a football game that might have set football back a couple centuries, in a 14-7 game, and it wasn't because of weather. The offenses just couldn't get anything done. Lehigh gets the high seed and gets it just taken from them right away. So multiple high seed losses today. You lose the 5 seed, you lose the 6 seed, you lose the 1 seed. Pretty wild weekend when it comes to that. So this bracket, this whole
just like we planned it, huh?
Crazy. Yeah, this whole season's been crazy, and the bracket's living up to it, and I love it. I'm here for all that nonsense.
And apologize again. I think I did actually boot my phone off the Wi-Fi, so that might have been why my microphone. I don't know. I could see you talking, but I couldn't hear anything. So I'm like, what the? Who knows? It's been it's the final show when everything's kind of going a little south. But no, I think I mean, as much as that, because I've seen some debates. Obviously, we know the SoCon had a down year. Sorry to Kevin if he's watching out there somewhere.
I think Kevin's half a bottle of SoCo in somewhere right now.
I don't blame him. It was funny because I told people when trying to look into that game, preview that game, I'm like, well, they have to be a little bit better than what we saw that came to Brookings in 2023. And of course, that was a generational South Dakota State team as well. So it's, that wasn't necessarily a fair comparison to make. But God, I mean, you could tell right away when that USD game started today that was going to be a bludgeoning. I mean, they were just blowing them off the line by like 5 yards. LJ Phillips, I think, they only gave up like an average of 92 on the ground all season per game. And I think LJ Phillips had that within like the first drive or two. So, I mean, it was just, you could tell they kind of weren't built for it. And, they obviously have the Jerry Rice Award winner for Freshman of the Year. And he threw 3 picks and, it was bad
looked
weather.
Like a freshman, that's for sure.
Yep. Bad weather day. But, in a lot of the same ways, I think you have to credit Dan Jackson for what he's been through. I mean, obviously, it was not a very easy start to the year for Travis Johansson and company. And I think he did a really good job rallying them because we were on here quite a few times early in the season and talked about how their season looked to be headed south and they had to kind of pull it out of the fire. And boy, after a loss to Illinois State, I remember sitting here kind of saying, well, how is this team going to win? They really had to probably win their last 3 in a row after losing to Illinois State, and they did. So you just got to. They definitely got, I think, the more favorable draw to go to Mercer for sure. But now they get to go to Washington Grizzly, which historically has not been any easier on their program. I don't know that they've ever won there. At least not in the Division I era. I know they haven't. Although they've actually had a lot of close games there over the years. But Washington Grizzly just remains kind of like we know it for SDSU. It's been a house of horrors, and it's not historically been a great place for the Dakotas. We'll see if that changes next week. They get the ABC game too at 2:30 on ABC nationally, which also kind of stinks because that kind of confirms my thought that probably would have been SDSU USD if it had been in Vermilion on the which would have whatever you think of the rivalry, I think that would have been pretty damn fun to have SDSU USD on national TV on ABC. I think might be the only game on in that window. I'm not sure if there's an FBS game or a bowl game or anything going on at that time. I think maybe just Army Navy's next week, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know for certain. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think USD has a little bit better secondary right now to go. I mean, but they're going to have to. They really need to turn it into a run game. I mean, that's where I think the Jacks were kind of. Obviously, we saw the Jacks couldn't really establish a run today. If they can establish a run with Phillips. Because you don't want to get into a shootout with Montana at Washington Grizzly Stadium. You just don't. Yeah, it's not easy for anyone. No, nobody goes in there. I mean, even Montana State winning this year, that's the first time they'd won a road game in the Brawl since 2019. So, yep. I mean, if USC is going to win, they're going to have to run. They're going to have to do what they've done all year, which is kind of lean on Phillips, hit some play action. But you got to establish the run, and you got to keep that offense off the field because it. I think Ayat, I said this too when talking about Montana today. I think you have to credit him. Again, I think SDSU's got some problems in the secondary, but man, he has developed, there's a thing for not just going into the portal and getting everything you need. I think you can get everything you need out of the portal. I mean, that guy, we talked about it on this show several times when talking about the Grizz. He looked like he was just a legacy dude. Because his dad was the quarterback of their first ever championship team. And, you're like, oh, well, this is just a guy who's there because his daddy won the title. He's turned into a really good quarterback. Flat out. I mean, the throw, I remember they made a comment at times and looking at it, they're like, he's really good throwing those tight throws to the sidelines. stuff like that. I mean, and again, I think SDSU has problem. I think it's no secret the secondary had its issues this year, but just leaps and bounds ahead of anything they've had. Even Clifton McDowell a few years ago was a good quarterback. Man, I'm not, nobody was beating that 2023 team, but man, this quarterback would have been a tougher challenge in that game. This version of Ayat would have been a tougher challenge for that SDSU team. They would have won that game, but this is the best quarterback play I've seen from Montana. I think in the last 2 years, easily in the 2 years that we've seen them in the playoffs previously, and it'll be interesting. I think what is the only, like I said, somebody said he's a redshirt sophomore, junior.
Seen a lot of sophomore. He's a sophomore.
That's wild because he played a little bit in the championship as a true freshman. He got into the title game in mop-up duty. I mean, the game was over by then, but yeah, I mean, if you keep him there, which you hope they do. I mean, obviously, good news obviously coming out this week that Bo Brungard will be back. It's good to see that he's going to be back in the FCS. We think Chase is going to be back. I think there's a lot of you never want to say you never say never. But there's a lot of confidence that Chase Mason is going to be back. And, I would think a guy like Ayat, who has such deep ties to Montana, there's a pretty good chance you could keep that guy in Missoula. So the more talent you can keep in the FCS is a good thing. And I think that's pretty likely.
Bo Brungard's sticking around too.
Yeah, so, that's what I mentioned. Brungard's.
Yeah.
I mentioned Brungard sticking around. Yep. I mean, like I said, Chase. We're pretty confident Chase is going to stick around. So I mean, it's these are good things. These are good developments. Not everybody, the FCS will take its hits. We know that, but those are three quarterbacks who going into next year, those could well be three guys who are Peyton finalists next year.
Mm-hmm.
For what that's worth, because this may be the first year I pose this question. I don't have an answer. This may be the first year a Peyton finalist has not won a playoff game. I mean, that's insane to think of.
Yeah, no, it's been a wacky year, man. When's the last time one of the Peyton finalists was from Youngstown State in the first place, right?
Maybe not since they had their dynasty run with Jim Tressel. I don't know. God.
Right. You got to go back to there. I mean, it's the first time USD's ever gone deeper in the playoffs, in the FCS playoffs, than SDSU.
Or NDSU.
Yeah.
I mean,
so they've got to be looking around like, oh, hey, this is good. Okay.
And yet the funny thing is, and I said this too, I'm like, you would think in a year where both SDSU and NDSU got knocked out, oh man, they got a red carpet. The road is just as tough as ever for them, potentially, because they're looking at now, granted, I don't think Montana State looked great today against Yale, although I think let's give props to Yale. I think, the Ivy got pretty dissed for about a half last week. And then obviously, we know what Yale did at Youngstown, and they backed it up today going into Bozeman, and they gave the Bobcats all they could handle. So, maybe there are some chinks in that Montana State armor. I don't know. Maybe this was just a down. Maybe Montana State kind of thought they had this one in the bag. There was obviously that weird thing at the end with Julius Davis and Vegan. I know Davis has kind of come out and said that it was getting overblown or it got misconstrued. We'll see. I mean, but like I said, it's like back to the original point though. It's like you'd think in a year where STSU and NDSU are gone in round 2, and USD still alive, that they would have a cakewalk to the final. Yet they've got to potentially go back to back through both Montana schools. That's crazy. So like I said, if they do make it to the championship, boy, it'll be one of the most well-earned championship appearances you can ever have. Because, if you can win back, we'll see. If you can win back-to-back in Washington Grizzly and Bobcat Stadium, then you've earned it at that point.
Yep. NDSU hasn't been able to do that, for Pete's sake.
I mean,
so yeah, you can't. That's a tough road. I don't see that happening personally. But I still have my money on the Cats making it out of that side of the deal. Yeah, we got Montana fans in here saying they're in the Cats are in shambles, and I don't. Let's hold on. Okay, we're you probably want a Montana podcast for that sort of reaction.
Anything can happen if we get a Brawl of the Wild semifinal, my friends. So I wouldn't,
Right.
I would not be, I mean, obviously they went into Washington Grizzly and beat, we know what they did in the last meeting. So,
all right, I'm going to address this. Just because a Montana Grizz fan podcast went out and made shit up that I said does not mean I said it. I did not say Ayat has small hands. However, it was hilarious that he saw that comment and dunked on me because he saw what the Grizz fan podcast had put out. And that's hilarious. That is hilarious. I made a comment earlier this week that Chase Mason may be part of the reason he was able to handle the ball well in the bad weather was because he's a big dude and he's got big hands to grip the ball because you need grip to sling the ball. And I said, I don't know what Ayat's going to look like. He's a smaller guy. I don't know. Smaller than Chase. He's not a small guy. And then, their podcast went and retweeted it. They didn't clip it because, it wouldn't have said that. But they did tweet about how, not having to listen to our podcast so he did it for them. And, and Ayat has small hands, so he's not going to be able to throw the ball. And it wasn't bad weather, so I don't know whatever. It's fine.
Well, when you've been waiting, what is it now, a decade to get past the Dakota States in the playoff, and in one day, that's literally been achieved. All I'll say is you better go out and beat South Dakota, because if you see both Dakota States gone, and then you lose to South Dakota, that's kind of like, that's putting the cart before the horse right there. If you can't finish off, it's like, what's like the movie where it's like the monster movie or the horror movie where you think the villain's dead, but then they rise and then they, knife the guy in the back or whatever. It's like you've taken care of two Dakota school, three of the four are gone, but if you don't get the last one, you're just gonna feel like you're never gonna get this done, right?
Right. And the last thing the video says otherwise, go clip it, and put it online, tag me in it, and I will happily say, well, I guess I lied. But yeah, go show me the video. And I know there's not, because when we say other podcasts say things, we make a clip of it and put it out there. Anyways, you got Grizz got a big one next week. I think they'll be fine at home, honestly. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, always stump for teams in the 605. They're definitely favorites, and I'm sure they'll have a little bit higher line than 2.5 or whatever Vegas had in this game. But USC's playing with a lot of confidence right now. And I think they've got something that SDSU doesn't quite have right now, which is they can establish a run game.
They do have a high octane run game. Yeah,
that could make a big difference. They've got to find a way. I think USD fans said this. They've got to make it. They got to make it a grinder. That's what had to happen today a little bit. SDSU, you can't get into a track meet at Washington Grizzly Stadium, no matter what the weather is. So if USD can, and their offense which is wild, because obviously their offense at times this year was so anemic that it made me want to scoop my own eyeballs out while watching it. But they seem to, especially once, I think the fact they won that Southern Illinois game with their offense, I know Johansson has said, that's a key thing, that they were able to win a game with offense. They've been playing a lot better, namely since the SDSU game, and certainly since the UND game on offense. But they have to be able to kind of grind it out a little bit. They have to be able to have some long drives. They have to keep Montana off the field. Certainly, if they could go out and get, granted, it didn't necessarily make that big of a difference today with SDSU because they had the lead for probably the bulk of the first half. But if you get off to a good start, can keep them off the field, get a couple punts. But yeah, like I said, you're going to favor Montana after the way they played today. And, It's just Washington Grizzly. They're probably going to have a little bit more of a crowd this coming week. I mean, I don't know what the final attendance was today, but clearly not full, obviously. But that's not to be nothing to be surprised about. The second round is never a full attendance round. So I think like I said, I know we mentioned this last week. I think last week we said, I don't know if the Coyotes want any piece of an SD. I think they're pretty confident in what they got going down there. So, if you lose at this time of the year, if you're not, then you shouldn't be in the playoffs. Yeah.
You think so. You just won 47-0. You better be confident. That'd be
wild
if they didn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, last week we said, obviously, like, how would they want the smoke if they had SDSU coming into the Dome again? I think they'll take on just about anybody right now down there. They have to, if we'd gotten a second round of SDSU USD, I think both those teams both those teams have come back from the abyss this year. I think neither one of them probably would have feared the other. There would have been a lot of confidence, and it would have been a lot of fun. And if we ever do get that SDSU USD game, I don't care what round it's in, it will be a lot of fun. But this year would have been pretty special, just because I think both teams overcame a lot just to get back into the playoffs. And obviously they started to play some pretty good football during it. And obviously we're halfway there, and obviously we would have had it on ABC. So damn it.
Yep. ABC
Damn it.
it is.
So. We would have. I mean, granted, I know you would have had endless puns about the Dakota Dome to make, but
Oh, absolutely.
Such is the price when you don't beat Indiana State.
Right. Yep.
So
yep. Well, that's exactly it. And I've said it before tonight. I'll say it again. Hats off to the Grizz. Absolutely, we're the better team today.
yeah.
Deserved to win the game. All the talk about who, what, and what the matchup would have been doesn't matter. Montana won, and they dominated.
Yeah,
the game
they did not.
after
They didn't leave much doubt. They didn't leave much doubt. I mean, it was after about the first. I mean, did Montana actually punt? I gotta look that up again, because I mean, obviously they had a couple of 4th and 1 stops. I mean, this was. I mean, God, it doesn't feel like they actually punted if they did. And, the other thing that was maybe a little discounted, but, Bobby Hawk is Bobby Hawk. That was a team that had a little bit of, they had the revenge line to play for. That's, 2 straight years of getting it thrown in their face by SDSU. Won in a championship game. You knew they wanted, to have this game in Missoula. You could tell, I mean, some of the play calls they threw out were, they did the Boise State play, from the Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma, the Statue of Liberty play where he does it for one of the touchdowns. I mean, they did not, they went deep into the playbook. I mean, there was nothing held back. You could tell this is a team, and they mentioned it a few times. I think Hawk did. I guess there were 2 punts. I barely remember that. I barely remember that Montana. Oh, sorry. Holding my phone here. Sorry for the shakiness, folks. They punted twice, and even their special teams. I mean, I think this kind of tells you another story. I mean, as we said, Pelham's been probably the best punter in the Valley, but there were moments this year. We go back to the other game in Montana where he just totally whiffed on a kick that became a touchdown, which very nearly cost him the game. I mean, today he only averaged about 33 yards a punt. I mean, that for him is a horrible game. Even the Montana punter, the Montana punter, you don't even remember that he punted, but he averaged 54 per punt.
Right.
I mean, that was another aspect with this Jackrabbit team that we knew at the start of the year was going to be a thing, was special teams. And it reared its head a lot of different ways this year, whether it was, a game like today where the normally reliable punter isn't having a great game, or you go to the Indiana State game where the guy returned the kickoff on the opening play, or after they got after they got in the field goal, whatever it was. I mean, special teams this year, they lost an ace last year in Hunter Dustman, And, it just special teams was a problem this year. I think the things that, along with Montana just playing a terrific game, the things that were problems for SDSU all year long were problems again today. And those were things you can't, ultimately, you're probably not going to overcome. Unless you overcome them, you're not going to make a deep playoff run or win a national title, even in a year that's been this bat bleep crazy so far in the bracket.
Right, absolutely. Really quick, I'm going to mention other sponsors. We're proud to be partners with the Jackrabbit Former Players Association and Wooden Legs Brewing, downtown Brookings. Wooden Legs Brewing made our our redacted illustrated beer with them this year. It was delicious beer. Hopefully, we'll be coming back with another one next year.
Yep,
sold that out in record time.
This will be, I know it's flipped around here because my phone does not have the camera, the function that flips it, but I had one today at Thumper's Palace, if you will. Thumper's Garage, literally garage time today,
It was
which is a good time.
Yeah,
this is one of my all-time favorites, so definitely, but this will get a permanent place here in the Borg cave. Hopefully I get a better webcam. I do owe people a tour of this place, by the way. I've just had a couple of technical difficulties. I still owe people that the podcast too, but it's been a little bit busier fall than I anticipated.
Yeah, for sure. Right. And then of course our other sponsors at Innovative Engineering. If you have any sort of commercial building that you're planning on building, from apartments to schools to industrial facility or anything in between, they can get you some drawings that'll be professional and properly done for your HVAC and electrical drawings for the building. So talk to Innovative Engineering. Thank you so much to them for being our partner all year long as well. As we're coming up on an hour here and I'm running out of gas, but full disclosure, it's been a long day. We've got UC Davis is going to win. They're up 47-20.
Pennick's going crazy.
Quick rundown. My bracket is a shambles. Quick rundown of the games next week. We've got Illinois State will be at Davis. Then you will have Villanova at Tarleton. And then you will have Montana hosting USD. And then you will have Stephen F. Austin on the road at Montana State. And that will be your quarterfinals.
Yep. And Stephen F. is at Montana State's the Friday night game that'll be on ESPN. Yep. So both Montana schools getting some good national play, as you would expect. And Tarleton gets the. That was the thing. I kind of thought maybe Tarleton and Villanova might. It would have been interesting. I think if NDSU had won, maybe the Bison, as usual, get the ABC game. I thought maybe when Tarleton and Villanova, you're talking Dallas, Fort Worth, and Philly. Maybe they put them together, but I think they made the right choice with USD Montana. I mean, Montana's is one of the. You think FCS football? They're one of the programs you think of. I think these are two of the best teams left. You don't get much better settings for TV than Washington Grizzly Stadium, and it'll be a pretty full house. I mean, I don't think it'll be a sellout next week, but it'll be a pretty full house. And like I said, that's one of the reasons I think it probably would have been SDSU USD, because the Dakota Dome would have had a lot of red and a lot of blue in it. So I think they want to be, for that ABC game, they want to be in a place where there's going to be a lot of fans, and it's hard to imagine there being places that won't. It's hard to imagine Montana, any place other than Montana State having more fans in them this next week. Maybe Tarleton. We'll see. I'm very curious to see how Tarleton will respond if they keep winning. I mean, that they want to be at. We know they have FBS aspirations. How will that fan base respond if they get to the semifinals? Will they actually show up? We'll see. I mean, that's. I wish I'd given him Brian a little crap for it a little earlier, but I saw Trevor Gebhardt, the former Bison, post something like, I just wish the FBS invite were coming right now to wipe away the pain. And I'm like, what if Tarleton goes on, wins the national title, and gets an FBS invite? They're going to put people in straitjackets in Fargo if that happens. I swear to God.
Yep.
I mean, you could literally, and you could honestly have a semifinal of Davis and Tarleton, and I would say those are the two most likely to go to FBS next. just because Davis is already in the Mountain West with every other sport. So, yeah, I mean, that, just a wild freaking day. But yeah, I think, I think, yeah, I can tell you're running out. I guess.
Sorry.
Where do we? No, we'll wrap up here pretty soon. I guess where do we kind of look at the future here as we go on with the Jackrabbits? I mean, I think it's always a little tough to project. There will probably be some guys who hit the portal. I mean, that's kind of inevitable in college football, whether they're big time players or whether they're just guys who are bench or more bench pieces. Remains to be seen. But I think if you get Chase Mason, but assuming Chase Mason's back, assuming Quentin Christensen's back, Graham Goring's going to be back for 6th year, and man, did he really come on at the end? I mean, that they're going to have they lost some serious pieces in the receiving room. I mean, I think Alex Bullock was terrific this year, but you have to have a lot of hope that Goring could maybe step into a number 1 type 2 role next year. Jack Smith, they're going to have to figure out a way to get him into the fold a lot more, because just the way you heard them talk about him, he was a number 1 type talent. They just couldn't seem like they struggled to integrate him in at times. I don't know.
Well, you get Kuntz back, you get Ogroski back, you get Jack Smith back, you get Graham Goring back. That's a pretty
good room right there.
Right. Yeah. I'm feeling happy with that. I think you get the majority of your offensive line back with some seasoning on them, besides Nate Adams, which obviously would be a huge hole to fill. And then, I think defensively, there's been a lot of depth that's gotten a lot of reps that'll be coming back. You're going to see people in the portal. That's just the way of the world.
That's college football.
And it's not always because they just wanted to leave, but it's because coach said, hey, you're not probably going to get a lot of playing time here. Go find somewhere that you're going to get to see the field. That's, as you build your roster. So Rhodey just got some pity points here. So it's 26-47. But overall, I do think, and Matt Tollefson, the Podfather, he'll be going over this, I'm sure, on Sunday. He's the roster management guru with recruiting classes and everything else, and he'll be going over this more on Sunday if you really want the inside scoop at it. But the future's bright. I'm excited to see what this coaching staff can do, what Coach Jackson can do with having a full recruiting cycle plus a full season, plus you're not finding a bunch of coaches, what they find in the portal. They just got a defensive tackle to commit from D2 school in the portal already.
The Moorhead guy.
Yep. So, I think the future's bright. But like I always say, you don't know until really fall camp what your roster is actually going to be.
Well, the nice thing is they only have the one portal window now. You don't have the one that opens up right after the spring. That's the one that killed USD, obviously. So you only really, but still, it's nice to only know that you only have to worry about the one portal time, as opposed to having the 2 windows, which I never understood anyway. I think the guys that I'm interested to see. I was surprised they never used him. Interested to see what Landon Delaney's going to bring next year. I mean, that was a lot of speed. The kick return game wasn't necessarily even just in the kick return, I was surprised we didn't see him there. Because it wasn't outside of maybe 1 or 2. It was not a big fat. We talk about the special teams that weren't terrific for them this year. That's a place where I could have seen him flipping the field a few times. But I'm curious to see what because Delaney was getting recruited by some pretty big programs. So obviously they keep the red shirt on him. Probably needed some time. I would assume he needed time to get bigger, stronger, faster. I don't think he gets much faster knowing him, but needed the time to get bigger and stronger and whatnot. It is kind of hard to believe especially after last year when 3 of the 4 were in the semifinals. But I think there's some other guys that are coming into this recruiting class. I mean, I don't know if Jace Woods is going to be a factor next year right away. He may need a, he was probably the best, if not the best receivers prep wise in this state. I mean, man, the thought of Delaney and Woods' speed alone, combined with the rest of this receiving core, is something that gets you excited. Now, again, I think Jace probably might need some. And then not to mention Jack Smith, who, again, is super. But, yeah, there's some guys who we didn't see this year who I think they were still able to keep a red shirt on that I think are going to factor pretty good next year, even though they didn't get to play. They're going to have to build some more depth, I think, at the running back position, although I thought we saw some nice things from Josiah Johnson. Basinger had some moments when he was healthy. They're going to have to build some more depth there. I think that's just, obviously – and they'll add, I think, through the portal as well. That just, last year they had to do a lot of adding through the portal for obvious reasons. But, I think this year also showed that you can get some pretty good pieces through the transfer portal. That's one thing that got poo-pooed a lot. And I think they showed that. And obviously the secondary, the defense is probably where they need to build that depth the most, though. I think it's build that depth along that defensive line so you can have the constant have like the hockey line changes as it used to feel like. And then the secondary. I mean, it's going to be the secondary, I think, probably.
Yep. Yeah, no, 100%. There's a lot of work to be done, but on the other hand, the future's bright. So looking forward to it. If anybody's wondering, we will still be doing Scared Money Don't Make Money because our picks contest is still going on. So we'll be going through the playoffs with that throughout the week. Wednesday or Thursday-ish, we'll see when Alex is available and all that jazz as we go on. And it might not always be the full boat of cast of characters, but we'll always be on. We'll have one of the shows going, or we'll at least post our picks for the week. So, but yeah, no, on to the off season now. Hats off to the Grizz. May the best team win in the playoffs. But beyond that, thanks again for another fun year, Borg. It was fun having you on here.
I mean, I'll just, I'll thank you guys, Brendan, and the rest of you guys at Jackrabbit Illustrated. This was obviously as you can tell by my background this year, of course, one night I was deep in the woods, so
right.
in a car, and I got pulled over. I did get actually pulled over. Well, the cops did come up and wondering what the hell I was doing, so that was fun. I fell asleep during one. This was a little more eventful. Obviously wish this year would have gone on a little longer as it has in the past, but I thank really thank you. We had a lot of fun today. Our kids were playing around, so as you've told me, and I've kind of been amazed at the reach the show has gotten, especially considering our time where we're on. I don't know why you people are tuning in at 11:30 to hear a sports guy doing this, but like I said, it's been that's kind of the point of it. When I think I approached you and JI a few years ago, was like, we need something we need a post-game show. We need something interactive for people. And, I was fortunate to, my bosses at the time, honestly, they did not pay attention to anything I did. It's kind of par for the course. They don't pay attention to anything anybody does over at Dakota News Now. And they let me do this. And obviously I switched jobs this year. And, the current, I'm part-time right now for them. They were okay with me doing this. So I got to thank them for letting me do that. This is a blast. This really is. This is when you talk with the hardcore fans. And I think that, we're obviously in an era where a lot's changed. Certainly we've seen it with the Argus just getting completely gutted. There's a lot of media compared to when I was here 10 years, compared to when I started 12 years ago. I mean, we're only at 2 television stations. The newspaper is just nothing anymore, and we don't really have much sports radio anymore. I mean, thank God Nate Brown's show is getting streamed again, but we lost KWSN out here, basically. I mean, it's a shadow of what it was. So, I'm very hopeful with what we're doing at Forum, that we've got a strong local media group that's really investing. And, by the way, keep checking out Midwest Sports Plus. That's where I'll be doing a lot of my work here this this next year. I'll still be doing some Jackrabbit stuff as well, so I got to play there. But it's a good local, regional ownership group. It's not something based in Atlanta, or Texas, and they really have a good pulse on where we're going, and I'm confident they got some good things coming down the pike. But the other thing that I think is really important, and I think it doesn't get said enough, is just the fan podcast, the fan run stuff like Jackrabbit Illustrated, and I'll throw in what the people at USD do. I've seen the podcasts they have. As a media guy myself, if we're not listening to what the fans are saying and asking, then we're not doing our job. It's like, in a way, it's like being an elected official. You have to listen to your constituents and what they want. And this has kind of always been that for me. So I'm humbled that you guys keep tuning in and this show gets the reach it does. And this year has truly been, I was not in a very good place the last year or two. I'm in a much healthier one now. And, even just getting to come over today and watch a game with people is something I have not done very much in the last 3 years. So I'm in a much better and healthier place mentally. And I hope to show that again next year. But this has been a terrific year. I obviously wish the Jackrabbits had gone a little farther so we could do this for a little longer. But I got a lot of people here to thank, and a lot of the people watching this show, because it was the people who I've known and met over the years that gave me the confidence to start to really think like, okay, I can leave Dakota News now and still be good. And I can still have an audience, still talk to people, and still continue this career in some way, shape, and form. And this show means a lot. And I'll do it as long as they keep telling me I can, as long as you guys keep giving me a platform. And then Brendan, you're a good dude. I think we've got to know each other a little bit better this year. I'm sorry for going on the soapbox here, but and keeping you up. But it's been just this has been a year that's renewed me in a lot of ways, and I got a lot of people, you at JI, and a lot of people who are watching this to thank. So I look forward to being back next year, but I do look forward to a nice summer of warmth, warm weather, and a summer to enjoy after all the snow we've had dumped on us the last 2 weeks. I could definitely wait through an off season and enjoy a nice warm summer before we kick back into the weekly grind again.
Yep, I'll probably be firing up the snowblower here. So
I had to shovel right when I got back because we darn near got stuck in the driveway. That was fun.
Oh God.
Well, we tried. I was gonna say we were going to go to the Augustana hockey game, but they had a mechanical issue and they had to postpone it because the ice had a problem.
I heard that the game got canceled.
Well, that's not canceled. They're going to play tomorrow at noon.
Oh, okay. So it's postponed. That's fun. Oh, man.
So, yeah, but it was, of all things to have, you can't make ice in a hockey arena when it's snowing and cold outside. I don't know. Who knows? Modern technology, man.
It's wild. And as Steve King says, thanks for being along for the ride, everybody. We're out. Go big, go blue, go Jacks.
Peace, everybody.